Welcome. I'm very excited to start talking about this month's book, the Murasaki Shikibu Diary, as translated by Richard Bowring. Um, I'm sure, when you think of Murasaki Shikibu, you don't necessarily think diary, you think Tale of Genji, right, of course, but this is the other pretty major thing that she did, so I'm excited to talk about it with you all. Murasaki Shikibu, as I'm sure we all know by now, um, is mid-Han era poetess, writer of prose from late 10th, early 11th century. She was a lady in waiting to the Empress Shoshi, who was the daughter of Lord Michinaga, who was the regent around the turn of the 11th century. Of course, she's famous for the Tale of Genji. She also has family ties to the famous early Heian period poet Kino Tsurayuki, or I should say earlier Heian period poet Kino Tsurayuki. Specifically, her great grandfather Fujiwara no Kanesuke was closely connected to Tsurayuki, and together they did a lot of work to promote the rehabilitation of native Japanese verse. And around 905, this led to the compilation of the Kokinshu, which is the first major imperial anthology of poetry. Her grandfather, Masatada, was also close to Tsurayuki and was a poet in his own right. But I wanted to share this. At Rozanji Temple in Kyoto, there is a lovely kind of Murasaki Shikibu exhibition because the temple is closely connected to her because it's built on a place where she used to spend a lot of her time when she was alive and is near the where the current imperial palace is located in Kyoto. And so this is a poem, a very famous poem, arguably the most famous poem by her great grandfather, Fujiwara no Kanesuke, which talks about the hearts of parents and how they can be led astray through love of their children. It is a poem that is often alluded to throughout early Japanese literature, including very much so in the Tale of Genji, and then also in no plays. For example, in the play Sumidagawa, which we read, it is mentioned there. Actually, it's not mentioned; it's directly quoted there. Um, if you're curious, the calligrapher is this man Nonomiya no Sadatoshi from the Edo period. But yeah. And then, so the diary, to talk about the diary, it was composed between the year, or we believe, kind of between the years 1008 and 1010. For context, the Tale of Genji started being written around 1004. And indeed, she does reference it towards the end of the diary, right? Um, I think Bowery says like 65% of it, so the majority of it centers around the birth of Empress Shoshi's son, Prince Atsuhira, which was a major point in the life of her father, Shoshi's father, Michinaga, as regent. This really solidified his influence over the realm since now he has produced a crown prince. There are some similarities between the Murasaki Shikibu Diary and the Pillow Book, as written by Sei Shonagon. I'm sure you guys may have, you know, felt that a little bit. They're both interesting reflections on life in the entourage of an empress. They both Sei Shonagon and Murasaki Shikibu have very close connections to the ladies that they serve, and they both have this wonderful ability to share their opinions about the people around them and the things that are going on, which is lovely. There is been a lot of scholarship around how the current diary that we have today was compiled. There's people who argue that there was an older diary that then got kind of torn apart and reorganized. There's um, this argument that there's some of her letters, Murasaki Shikibu's letters, got somehow folded into the diary and are now included in what we have today. We definitely know that what we have is somewhat incomplete. There are sections of the diary that are referenced in other works, including the diary of Fujiwara no Teika, a wonderful literary scholar from the like 12th, 13th centuries. And also, there are sections of it that are quoted in a tale called the Eiga Monogatari, or the Tale of Falling, or sorry, Tale of Flowering Fortunes, by the poet Akazome Emon, who was a contemporary of Murasaki Shikibu and who is referenced in the diary, right? But these references that show up in other pieces of literature do not show up in the diary that we currently have. So that's kind of frustrating from a scholastic perspective. Um, but it's very interesting to note. So then I wanted to mention this as well. There is a very famous collection of illustrations from very early Japanese history. I think this is specifically the 13th century. They are called the Murasaki Shikibu Nikki Emaki. So these picture scrolls that illustrate her diary. So I wanted to just share a couple of images with you because I think they're very beautiful. They're in the Yamato-e style. This is a depiction of the 50th day celebrations of Prince Atsuhira. So in the bottom here, you can kind of see a little man figure. That is Michinaga, who is offering ceremonial mochi to uh, the services, right, that are happening. Shoshi is depicted here holding her baby, and this other servant is possibly Murasaki Shikibu. We don't exactly know, but we're pretty sure that it's her. There are several different Emaki scrolls that depict her diary. This is the first illustration from the Fujita scroll, which depicts men lighting torches. Um, Both this and then this poem, or sorry, poem, this painting, um, which is the second painting of the Fujita scroll, they both depict the fifth day celebrations of the birth. But they're very beautiful. This is, I think, important to note because there is also a very famous late Heian period Emaki version of the Tale of Genji as well. So both this and so both her diary and her major tale have been immortalized in art from the time period. And then I also wanted to show this. So at the very end of the diary, there's this depiction of celebrations, including music that is sung to what is called the Kavalinka dance. The Kavalinka was, or as it's known in Japanese, Karyobin, was a mythical bird that lived in the Western paradise and is associated with Amida Buddha. And so it's traditionally a dance which was performed exclusively by children. But I just wanted to show you a little bit of this so that you have the context. So the dance does not show up in the diary, but this music does, right? And they take folk texts, folk song texts, and sing them in the rhythm and in the melody of this music. Just a little bit of context. This dance is believed to have been originated in India, where it was danced by the goddess of music, Sarasvati, which was then transmitted by one of the disciples of the historic Buddha. This disciple's name was Ananda. So let me exit my sharing here. Okay, so I'd love to open the floor to you guys. I do have some questions, but I thought I would start with just your thoughts, your impressions. What'd you think? I hope you liked it.